Now, as promised, Cheryl Weber has joined me, and Cheryl, of course, is no stranger to any of you who watch the program. She has, for many years, been a sofa sister. Who coined that term, sofa sister?
You know, I actually don't know. It's one of those things, you know, couch chicks was another one.
Couch chicks?
Sofa sister seemed to stick a little bit more.
Sofa sister. And you for the last season or two, you've been producing that.
Yeah, for the last year.
Yeah.
And before that was a journalist for this program for, what, 8 years?
And what are you doing now?
Now I am a documentary director.
Okay, because Full Circle has reached the end of its broadcast season. And so you're involved with documentaries?
I'm working on a documentary actually about what God's doing in Canada's Aboriginal communities.
Really?
And we'll be going up to Baffin Island next month and northern Quebec, and so we're going to bring some great stories.
Have you been to that area before, Baffin Island?
No, I've been to the Northwest Territories, the Arctic, on that side in the summer. So I think Baffin Island in March is going to be a new experience.
Wow, I'd like to go to Baffin Island. You know, I've seen a lot of the world, but I've never seen the northern part of our own country. I mean, that's great. Now, you're going to give us an update on Cambodia. It was it a year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
November 2010.
It was in 2010 November, okay. We spent the whole week with you friends stressing the tremendous need in Cambodia to deal with little girls who had been basically kidnapped and or forced into sex slavery. And you responded so well, friends, you really did. And so, as we always do, we like to give you updates on what happened with the support that you gave for the project. And in this case, we have 4 projects that we're going to talk about, and we're going to show you some clips. So Cheryl, take it away.
Well, you know, I was so privileged to get to see the work of Crossroads Missions firsthand, and I have seen the incredible work that we do. It impressed me so much. One of the things we do is a situation in Cambodia where there's stateless Vietnamese there. They can't get citizenship, they can't go back to Vietnam. So we're educating their kids. We have a school there. Some of the funds went to support that. Now there's 60 students from 43, which is great. Or also, do you remember I brought a piece about a school that we had on the lake, the biggest lake in Cambodia?
Yeah.
7 students there just gave their lives to Jesus.
Wow.
So we're seeing great fruit, and you know, one of the big issues there, they all belong to families that only fish 5 days a week because they want to give their Sundays to the Lord. That's a huge issue because they're hardly making it as it is.
Like these people, as I recall, were living right on the water.
They do, yeah, and boats on the water.
Yeah.
So that's incredible work. As well, we have dump daycare. We used to call it. Now I guess it's just the dump was actually closed, so it's in the slums now. We have a daycare for kids. 40 to 50 kids come every single day. They get fed, they get cleaned, medical care if they need it. So it's just a wonderful program. So that's been growing.
Somebody asked me yesterday in Calgary about dump daycare, and he wanted an update, and I gave him as much as I knew, and I forgot that you were going to be talking about it this morning. Hope he's watching.
Yeah, I hope so too. Or you can always direct him toward it.
That's right. Yeah. Now you've got a clip. Tell us about the clip.
So sexually trafficked kids obviously was the overarching theme, and we support 2 great organizations in Cambodia that do that. So one of them that we talked about was an organization called Hagar, supported through Ratnac International.
Ratnac meaning?
Is an organization out of Vancouver.
Right. You don't know what the Ratnac stands for?
I do. It's a story of a little girl who was dying from lack of medical care that Brian McConaughey, the founder, saw in a video.
So this is the name of a little girl?
It was, yeah, who died just from lack of very basic medical care. And he started out in Cambodia doing medical care. Now does that as well as funding the rehabilitation of sexually trafficked little girls.
Right.
So we have just a clip that's a little bit more history on that.
Let's take a look at it.
At first glance, these girls look like any other teenagers, making crafts and enjoying time with friends. But underneath their beautiful smiles lies a world of pain. These girls are recovering from some of the worst abuse imaginable: torture, druggings, beatings, and rape. They were sold into Cambodia's sex trade as a child, some as young as 4, and are now on the long road to recovery thanks to Hagar Cambodia, a faith-based NGO that is committed to helping them heal mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. These are the lucky ones. They were rescued. For thousands of others, that horrifying life continues. As a former RCMP investigator who's worked on many cases of sex tourism, Brian McConaughey knows exactly what these little kids suffer.
There's the initial trauma of often being sold by families. They don't trust any adults. Every adult they've come to know buys and sells them and uses them. And then once they're in the brothels, oftentimes they're conditioned with physical pain in terms of beatings, electrocution, etc. And then when they do start seeing customers as older kids, maybe 12 years old, 9 to 12 years old, oftentimes they're servicing a huge number of clients that are adult males. And of course, the stature of Cambodians are small to begin with. And then you have children involved in this where it's very damaging physically. On top of that, you have the psychological implications of being used in that way. You have very active torture. These guys are intent on impressing on these little lives the power they have. They hold the keys of life and death, they would presume, in these videos that I've seen. And the children live in fear of this. It's absolutely torture in every way I can imagine.
Now, Cheryl, the question that pops to mind immediately is, why does Cambodia allow this to happen?
You know, it's a really good question. It's not so much allow it, maybe, as kind of just turn their head away, but it's a huge, actually, dollars for the economy, which is a very, third world economy struggling. These sex tourists brings in tons of money. And a lot of these victims are Vietnamese. And as I mentioned earlier, they're not really considered to be of any value by the Cambodian. They actually hate each other, Vietnamese and Cambodians. So, here's if some Vietnamese kids are
So they're
used.
disposable.
Yeah.
They're products.
Women especially, actually. There's a saying in Cambodian culture that says men are like gold, women are like cloth. Men can be cleaned. Women, once they're stained, are stained forever.
Really?
So just not the same value on life and on women in particular.
And so with McConaughey, we're partnering in rescuing some of these girls and rehabilitating them.
Which is amazing. It's such hard work. These kids are, just really awful to deal with at first, but you can see that they're becoming beautiful young girls. I saw that firsthand. It was amazing. And in the time since we've done this, we've also supported another organization that rehabilitates Little Girls New Song Center. They provided care for 58 girls. 17 of them have given their lives to the Lord now and are on that journey as well. They trained 421 community leaders to recognize sex traffickers, girls at risk of being trafficked, understanding child protection, sex tourists, all of that. So it's important too to train people to understand what's going on and try to put an end to it. And community leaders are the people who can do that. It's kind of grassroots work as well.
Wow, yeah. Now you got another clip for us. Set it up.
I do. So International Justice Mission, they rescue the kids. So it's, there's all these different processes from education to rehabilitation. Rescue's huge. And so we actually support them. I spent some time with their undercover investigator in Cambodia, just understanding what these guys do. They're heroes in my mind. It's hard work.
Let's take a look.
This is where the freelance pimps and traffickers will come to source girls.
This undercover investigator, we'll call him Jim, is giving me a tour of the seedier side of Siem Reap, Cambodia. It doesn't look particularly dangerous at first glance. As a matter of fact, this walk by the river is one of the most beautiful parts of town. But it's what lies beneath the beauty that is most disturbing.
This is invariably where people will come and approach you as a tourist to offer you sex and or drugs. It's very prevalent here, and it is a major problem.
Jim is Director of Investigations for International Justice Mission in Cambodia, a Christian human rights organization that works primarily in the areas of slavery and sexual exploitation. His job is to identify brothels and avenues where underage children are sold for sex.
So our intelligence will come up through an informant network, and it'll flow up through to our operatives. Our operatives then filter that and send it to our investigators. The investigators look at it and then they pass it to me. My job is to prioritise that information and make a decision whether I'm going to spend my limited human resources and financial resources onto that. Follow it through to a full-blown investigation resulting in an operation, an arrest and a rescue.
In 2008, partners of Crossroads Missions helped International Justice Mission investigate launching an office in Siem Reap. Tourism had taken off there, not because of the city, but what lies outside of it.
The stunning temple called Angkor Wat draws millions of tourists around the world to come visit here. But an unintended consequence of this World Heritage Site is a booming sex tourism business that traffics young women from all over Asia.